Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Squills here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking all about the patch notes and the new update that just hit Rainbow Six Siege this morning. Now, obviously, a lot of these changes have been foreshadowed last week in the designer's notes, but I was on vacation and I figured since the update is now live, it's just as good a time as any to get this information to you guys, and hopefully we can learn something and gain some new insights about what changes we can make to our playstyle based on this new update and new information from the designer's notes. So let's get started. We're going to start with the new operator changes and then make our way onto the win deltas and pick rates and see what we can learn. So starting off, Vigil. He's getting some new glitching effect. So when he's doing certain actions like shooting, he's going to glitch on cameras rather than, I guess, just deactivating the ERC disruptor. That's not a big change. The only significant, seemingly, change that he actually received is that his gadget, and I guess Vigil himself, will not be immune to the EE1D or Grimm's Beehive. I don't see this as being a major change because I don't really see Vigil in that powerful of a place anyway, and you wouldn't really be picking him to counter either of those operators regardless. And a note to people who are still playing Vigil, I really don't think Vigil is the most effective operator for the role that he serves. I really think that most Vigil players should be switching over to Solus for reasons I will explain later when we get to the designer's notes. Moving on to Knock. Her gadget will no longer reduce the sounds you make while you are moving, and in my opinion, this is a great change because I found this to be a very annoying aspect of Knock's character when you're defending. But yeah, this absolutely guts her. I think a lot of people previously used her to kind of crouch walk around the map and sneak up on people and get map control where, they kind of would just play off the defender's instinct of being able to hear an attacker before they, kind of show up in their face. But yeah, you can't really play Knock in this way anymore and expect to get any better results than you would playing a 3-speed operator, say Ash. So if you played Knock in that way and that's kind of why you picked Knock, I would suggest switching over to literally any other 3-speed operator with a good gun. So that's basically all I have to say there. They made some other changes to her gadget, but none as significant as that one, and really that completely just guts her and just stops her from really being effective for use in the way that I think a lot of players used her. So stop playing Nook if you're just going to crouch walk around the map. Pick another 3-speed operator. Here's the blockbuster change that they made, the biggest one in this relatively small patch. They're giving the 1.5 sight to Thorn and her primary SMG, the UZK 50GI. I like this change. I think she's actually a good operator to get it. I've heard from the few people that have played today that it's a pretty good feeling gun to have that scope on, and yeah, I think it's good. It's a very low recoil, which means it should be very easy to adapt to that new zoom scope, which generally makes the recoil on any gun feel a little bit more difficult to control. I really hope she doesn't end up falling into that same group where Ubisoft kind of gives her that sight and then they end up realizing, oh shit, we gave her a little too much, and then kind of tuning her back and just removing that sight like they did with Alibi, Wamai, other operators in the past, I'm sure that I can't think of off the top of my head, Oryx. And so we'll see how they end up tuning her from here on out, but I really don't think it'll have that big of an impact on her gun as opposed to the other ones because it's not as high fire rate. But consider playing Thorn. She's got a deployable shield, good character, and that 1.5 sight should add a lot of long-range fighting capability to the defenders, and to Thorn specifically. If you're an Oryx player, you can climb hatches faster, but that's about it for Oryx. That's not a significant change at all. So with that being said, we are just going to be moving on to the designer's notes and taking a look at some pick rates and win deltas and see what information we can gain about that and see what insights we can gain from that. What changes should you be making? Who should you be playing more of? Who should you be playing less of? And the number one thing that I noticed about the attacker win delta, I'll show it up on screen here, Yana and Ash. Absolutely soaring above everyone else. And I think this speaks to two things. Number one, the G36 is a powerful gun. That's just how it is. And also, grenades are very, very powerful. I think every lineup on attack is one thing that you look for to have on every lineup is a set of grenades, and the two best operators for giving you that are Yana, number one, which is why you see her picked so much, in my opinion, and also Sledge. Yana is just a fantastic operator, great gadget for intel, great gun in the G36C, and those grenades, which are so necessary on attack because they are so powerful and so versatile in the amount of ways you can use them to remove utility, but most importantly, get kills. So, that's something that I think Ubisoft should definitely look into, but getting better at grenades, especially if you are a Yana player, that is one of the most powerful aspects of her kit. And also, make sure you're using your gadget. To all of you who are playing Yana, which seems like, to be honest, most of the Siege community at this point, make sure you're actually using her gadget and you're not just playing her like you are playing Ashe, because, again, you're probably also playing Ashe too based on these pick rates. Now, to speak on an underrated operator that I absolutely sticks out to me, and something that I've picked up on, I think, that a lot of people have yet to, and that's Ying. Ying is extremely powerful. She's actually the second highest win delta character in the game, right behind Fuse, who kind of has been a staple of those low pick rate, high win delta operators, because when Fuse is good, he's really good, but for the most part, he's pretty bad. But Ying is honestly universally useful, and I don't know why people don't play her more, because she's so oppressive. When you flash into a room, there's absolutely nothing any defender can do about it, unless, of course, you are warded. And so what I think people should be doing more of is just picking Ying, and anytime you want to take a map control, especially if your attack is stalling, just smoke off any entrances into that room, any angles you could get onto that room from outside that room, chuck one or two candelas in that room, and just run in. And when the defender inside the room is blind and the defenders outside the room can't really help that player in the room, it is just a free kill and free map control for your team. So definitely consider picking up Ying more to help your attacks stop from stalling out. Moving on here, I don't really see any other outstanding things on the attack. One of the operators that I've been pretty high on actually being Grim recently. I've been playing a lot of Grim recently, and while I do think he's powerful in the right hands, clearly the win delta not suggesting that. So maybe I'm a little bit overhyping Grim, but I believe in him. I think he'll make a comeback. And now moving on to the defenders. Again, the thing that sticks out the most is the highest picked operator. As usual, the highest picked operator tends to really stick out above the rest, and for now that is Warden, which surprises me. I have been noticing a lot more Warden play, but I didn't know it was this much. Almost 50% of rounds having a Warden in them, and that is pretty crazy to me, because Warden is not a super strong character as far as his kit goes. I remember when he was released, he was extremely weak, and people would be excited just to get any use out of his gadget at all. Now, obviously, he's being played as a frag-heavy operator with the MPX, with the 1.5 times scope. And the thing I would get out of that is, honestly, start banning him more. If you're a player like me who never really plays Warden, start banning him more. And if you are also taking the rest of my advice, play more Ying, because Warden, again, the only operator that completely shuts down Ying. With a Warden ban, you are not only removing a crutch operator from a lot of players who seem to be picking him a lot for his weapon, but you're also opening the door to some really powerful Ying plays with the assurance that you will not be able to be countered. A couple other things I want to note for the defenders here. The difference between Vigil and Solace that I was talking about earlier. Vigil, so a lower pick rate, but especially a lower win delta with almost negative 3%. That is a huge hole for Vigil. And Solace, meanwhile, doing much better, above a 1% win delta, and a significantly higher pick rate. So definitely, if you're going for that kind of deep roam style of play, definitely gravitate more towards a Solace and away from the Vigil, so that you can see the intel that the attackers have on you and kind of skirt around those drones. I think it'll do a lot better of kind of avoiding detection on a deep roam and being able to pick your spot as far as your flank and your aggressive play as Solace rather than Vigil. And the only other operator that I really want to highlight here is Melusi. Melusi making an absolute huge climb up towards the top of the win deltas chart, because her gadget's still super powerful. Even as a 1-speed, she still has a solid weapon, but especially her gadget really great at denying entry into the site. And while it's not anything special, it's not anything that's going to have particular situationally amazing usage. It's just a great general gadget to have, and something that people should be picking towards more often. And as a side note, I will say Capkin has risen in popularity by quite a bit on console. He's far more picked than on PC, and far more strong as well. Really an outlier in that sense. But even on PC, his pick rate has been rising very steadily, and he's still a very strong character. So if you're not checking for Capkin traps, you should start checking for them more often. And maybe, if you really don't like Capkin, banning him will have a much higher effect now than it would have in previous seasons. And yeah, that is about all I have to say for this season's patch notes. I tried to get this video under 10 minutes so I wouldn't be rambling too much. This was much less of a scripted video than I would normally do. But I hope you guys still got some usage out of it. I'm going to try to read the patch notes more every season because especially with the designer's notes, when you get those win deltas, that is information that you can use to kind of see what other players are thinking and feeling and what operators actually are performing still super, super well. So, thank you guys for listening in. I hope you gained something useful out of this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Again, I read all the comments and I respond to them, so, don't feel like you're going to be left out if you leave a comment. And, yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace.